Welcome back to Site Tech Intermountain Siteworks training videos. In this video, I want to show you how to create avoidance zones straight from your data collector. I want to show you how to actually shoot an area and then how to actually change the file type right in Siteworks to create avoidance zones straight through the program itself without having to throw it into Terminal Business Center, at least for the data collector. Now, I know a lot of you may not ever use avoidance zones in the data collector. I understand that, but you can still gather the data, create them in there, and then I have tried exporting it a couple times to Earthworks different ways, but it doesn't like it straight from the data collector. So I'm going to show you how to take that DXF file that you have and hurry and throw it into Terminal Business Center and export it out and put it into any Earthworks machine. I already do have a video on the channel that shows you how to do the avoidance zone straight from Terminal Business Center, but I'll still just show you this whole process. What I've got here is some makeshift water valves and manholes, and then we'll actually create an avoidance zone area off to the side. So as you can see, I already have a design set up on my project here, a little bit of a roadway with a crown, but I want to as-built this stuff in and actually make an avoidance zone around them. So really all you need to do is to go into your roller stuck in the mud, which is your measure type, go to new line, and then you can still name them what you want them to be, but I'm going to make them an actual area in here on the line type. So I'll just do water valve on this, but I'm going to change my line type to area. And what I'm going to do is you have a couple different options here. One, you can make individual little areas where the actual water valves are. But if I were to export this out to a grader hand or someone on my job site with a dozer that's going to be running material through here, and I don't want them to clip them, I would just make an avoidance zone around the three because they're small like this. So that's what I'm going to do, is just keep my boundary tight around it, because I'm going to show you in both the data collector and the machine how you can set an avoidance zone bigger as a warning zone if you've ever used these. But these are very, very handy for the operators. If you're the first guy on the job site before the grader or the dozer or anybody that's going to be working around the utilities that may be covered, if you can get them as built and then put these areas around them, once they come in, if they're placing base or working in an area that the operator doesn't know that they're going to see it on their screen as an area that's going to be bright pink, and it'll actually warn them when they get close to it if you're unfamiliar with avoidance zones. So I'm actually just going to kind of square this out. I'm just going to set up right here and make an area around this. It doesn't have to be perfectly square. And then right there, you'll see that I don't have to go back to my very first spot. I can just auto close that out. So I've got an area right there. Let's go ahead and hit a couple manholes that I've got over here. And same thing with this. You can keep your avoidance zone really, really tight around it. And then actually, so you don't want too big of an area all the way around it, or else it's going to annoy the operators. Every time they even get remotely close, it'll start yelling at them. So what I would suggest is just keep it nice and tight. We'll just go back into my line measure type there, and I'll just call this manhole MH. I'll leave it as an area. And then there again, it depends on if you want to make it a circle or not. It just depends on how much time you have to spend on it. If you want to take a whole bunch of little shots, in my opinion, when I've done this, even though it is a circle, I still am just trying to keep them out of an avoidance area. So what I do is just do an actual square box. Honestly, that's a lot easier when you're the guy shooting it. So there's one more right there. Let's grab this one up here, and then I'll show you how to make kind of a bigger area. Let's say there's a wetland area, or there's underground utilities. Auto close that out. So the other reason I would actually use avoidance zones, when I first was an operator, people used to give them to me to like for wetlands and stuff like that. Those didn't really help because they were usually already blocked off. I'm giving you an example of using it for utilities in the ground, but also think about up above the operator. Let's say he's got some overhead power lines. Let's say he's got fiber optics in the ground and there's an actual line across the ground that you don't want him to go across. Yeah, you shoot it as a line, but you can export that to the machine, but unless it actually warns them, you may not see it. So think of utilities in the ground that you can warn them, and also of stuff up in the air that's above them so they can't see. But let's do kind of a makeshift, let's say there's a utility line across right here that's a fiber optic. So we'll just say fiber, and we'll leave it as an area, same thing. I'm just going to run over here. I'm going to keep it kind of narrow. Maybe what you can do is, you know how Blue stakes gives you a 2-foot boundary. You could actually just go 4 foot for both sides just to kind of cover yourself. So we'll go ahead and just make kind of a rectangle area and actually auto close that out. So there again, that's just what we have on the main screen that I actually want to export out. So now that I've got that shot right there, what I'm going to do is go into my menu button, top left, and I'm going to go down to data management, and I'm going to export measured data. In here, right from the top, leave this as a DXF file. You've got other options to export, but do DXF, leave this as DXF measurements, and then I don't think it matters at all on the decimal because I've just left that at 3. And then you can see right here, I don't have a thumb drive in. I'm doing this all internally. So file location is device. So therefore, file name, I'm going to tap in this box right here. And at the top, I'm going to leave it at Windows. But what I'm going to do is hit this black back arrow button until I go right to the root of my project. So I'm going to back up a couple, and you can see I'm in my Trimble SCS 900 data, and I'm in my Morgan L3, but I'm in the area right here that's kind of what I call the root of the project. It's the background images, designs, and work orders. Right here, I'm going to put in avoidance zone. So I'm going to just type it out, avoidance zone. But what I'm going to do is do dot avoid, lowercase, all lowercase there, a dot avoid dot DXF. So that's the key right there. I just called it avoidance zones at the beginning just so I knew that. That doesn't matter. The biggest thing is where it's dot avoid dot DXF. I'm going to go ahead and hit accept, and it's going to write that file to my root of the folder right there. Now all I have to do is reload my project. So I'm going to hit my menu, go to project setup, change project, and as soon as I hit accept, I'm not changing anything else in here. I'm instantly going to have an avoidance zone warning that comes up. It says the info, an avoidance zone file has been loaded. It's your responsibility to observe safe operation practices. This product does not guarantee error-free avoidance zone guidance. Understood. Hit OK. And now when I go to my main screen, all I've got is a bunch of avoidance zone areas. And you can see that there's kind of 2 black lines right there. So the first one in the middle, the smallest one, was my shots that I shot in the middle. The outside one is an avoidance zone area that I can make bigger or smaller based on what I want to, both with Siteworks or the machine. So in your menu, if you go down to settings, and almost the bottom of settings, there's one that says avoidance zone. In here, I've got it set to 5 feet. I think your data collector most likely right off the bat is going to be defaulted to 0. And you can check this box to display avoidance zone message when loading the project. So you don't have to have that info bar every time. But anyways, if I put that back to 0, you can see that those squares are truly the size of what I shot before. And as I walk towards that, you'll notice something. As I get inside, as soon as I go inside the actual avoidance zone, which is my water valve box right here, I instantly get a warning. So avoidance zone entered. It's kind of quiet. I have the volume turned down, but it is making a noise. And it makes it nice and solid there on the screen. So now if I go ahead and put back into my settings here, an actual avoidance zone of, let's say, 5 feet. And I know what you're thinking. With the data collector, it doesn't really matter as much. I totally understand. I'm just honestly in this video just trying to show you how you can make them right inside of your data collector, and then we'll put them in the machine also. So now that I've got an extra range or a distance out around the outside, as soon as I get into the first one, you'll see that it's a different sound. It's just yellow. That's because it's my avoidance zone as I'm getting close. That's different. As soon as I walk inside, then avoidance zone entered, turns red, completely different sound. Same thing if I walk over here to where we have the fiber optics in the ground. So different for the outer boundary, which is yellow, different sound. And then as soon as I go in the inside, completely different sound. There again, just wanted to show you how to make those. I didn't even have to use Trimble Business Center at all to create that. I made it right out inside the data collector. Once again, I have tried exporting this as a .avoid.svl straight to the machine from here, changing the file path. And it hasn't worked a couple different times. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to throw this work order into Trimble Business Center, just re-export it as avoidance zone, and then we're going to load it into the machine and show you that process.